Everyone's favorite ice leopard, Chien-Pao, hasn't been seeing the greatest results lately. It hasn't gotten many day 2s, and the top 8 finishes for it have been few and far between over the past who knows how many regional championships. But there is hope on the horizon. Out of all the decks in the standard format, Chien-Pao seems to actually lose the least. So today we're going to take a look at some lists and discuss if Chien-Pao EX can survive the 2024 standard rotation. What is going on, everybody? Hitmonchan here, back again with another Pokemon trading card game rotation video. Today we're taking a look at Chien-Pao, but before we get into the video, let's take a look at the word from today's sponsor. Just want to give a quick thank you to the sponsor of the channel, PTCGL Store. If you need codes, you know where to go. Head over to PTCGOstore.com and use code HITMON to get 5% off your order. You get a good product for a good price, and you help out the channel as well. So thank you to the sponsor for supporting me, and thanks to you for supporting me too. And now, we'll get right back into the video. Now today, we're going over Chien-Pao, and I'm going to be, very honest up front right here. Chien-Pao doesn't lose a lot with rotation, but I think it's going to be really interesting. We're going to discuss what some current Chien-Pao decks look like, what their strategies are. We're going to analyze them and all that good stuff. And then we're going to go over what the deck loses with rotation, and finally a post-rotation list, as we always do with this little mini-series I got going on. So before we get into the video, like it if you like my content. Subscribe to my channel because I'm posting so much Pokemon trading card game content. And yeah, just thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. And now we're going to go over what is rotation really quickly. A bunch of sets are going to leave the standard format. I go over this pretty much every video, but it should be pretty well known by now. But just in case, you missed it, we are losing Battle Styles, Chilling Reign, Evolving Skies, Celebrations, and Fusion Strike. All of these cards that have the Regulation E mark, you can find that at the bottom left-hand corner of your Pokemon card. If it's an E, F, G, whatever regulation mark, these are going to be rotating out. So all the E cards are going to be gone. You're not going to be able to use them in any standard format deck anymore. And these are the sets that those cards will be found in. Now, we're going to take a look at some sample Chien-Pao lists. The first one is Jared Grimes' 24th place Portland list. This is basically, if I'm not mistaken, just the Canadian Chien-Pao as it's been dubbed. This is like the standard way to play Chien-Pao before Iron Hands was introduced, I should say. And to be completely honest, this is my preferred way of playing Chien-Pao because it's completely just built on consistency and there's no funny tax, For the things that Iron Hands will do, you have Cross Switcher Cologne to get rid of those little single price Pokemon. And then, yeah, it's a standard Chien-Pao list. 3 Chien-Pao, 3 Frigibacks, with one of them being 70 HP, 2 Tuba Barrel Line, 2 Baxcalibur, Manaphy, Radiant Greninja, and then for your supporters, you got Irida and Iono. That's basically it. And then the rest are item cards. Those 4 VIPs, 4 Nest Ball, 4 Ultra Ball, 4 Cross Switcher, 4 Superior Energy Retrieval, 3 Rare Candy, 2 Canceling Cologne, 2 Super Rod, 1 Heavy Ball, and then you got your 4 Pokestops to help you draw throughout the deck. That's pretty much how it goes over here with the Canadian Chien-Pao. All that it loses, Battle VIP Pass, and Cross Switcher. That's it, which is really good. I've been hoping for a while that Chien-Pao could make a bit of a comeback. The deck has fallen off, and the reason why pretty much is that it takes a lot to get going, to be able to get a Stage 2 into play and to have a bunch of energy on your board can be really tough, and also get that to barrel up as well. So there's a lot of reasons that Chien-Pao is having a hard time right now. Valiente gave it a really tough time when that came out. Now Rapid Strike's pretty popular. That gives this deck a tough time, especially with TM Devo in the format as well. So we could see Chien-Pao list change a little bit going into the future. But for now, this is the most recent high placing finish list. This is Canadian Chien-Pao piloted by Jared Grimes. Now the more traditional, I'd say, Paradox Rift Chien-Pao that you're going to be seeing is with Iron Hands. And this is Ian Robb's LAIC 14th place list. It's basically standard Chien-Pao with Iron Hands. You got the 2 Earthen Vessel, you got the Lightning Energy card, then you have the 1 Iron Hands, and then, instead you don't have those 2 Canceling Colognes, you have 1 less Water Energy, and you have 1 less Nest Ball. That's basically it. That's the only differences between this list and Canadian Chien-Pao. Still plays those Cross Switchers, still plays those VIPs, and those are the cards that it loses, in the deck. And I think it's most interesting here when we talk about the alternative cards that we can play. Obviously, Battle VIP getting lost can be tough because Battle VIP you're going to be using, to get Greninja and a Frigibax, and you can sealed cards try and get more Pokemon. But our alternative in Buddy Poffin can't get you Radiant Greninja, so things might be a little more tricky to deal with there, because obviously you're going to want to get Greninja. It's your draw engine in the first 2 turns of the game. Pretty much before you can get your Bibarel established, you're going to be drawing with Radiant Greninja. So not having access to that off of the Battle VIP pass can be a bit of a challenge. However, Buddy Poffin is going to be really good because you can play it in the later game, and you can get 2 Frigibacks back out if you only are able to get 1, for example, with a Nest Ball, and then it gets knocked out by, let's say, I don't know, like literally anything. Gets prime catchered or bossed up and then gets knocked out. You can use Buddy Poffin to grab more Frigibacks very easily. So Buddy Poffin is a very, very good card to have here. Another alternative that we can look at is we got to replace those cross switchers, and a version that I think a lot of people have been considering but haven't quite been playing is the Iron Bundle counter catcher version. This was popularized, I think, by Azul, if I remember correctly, and he played a version of the deck that didn't play any cross switchers and it played Iron Hands, but you played Iron Bundle and counter catcher to in order to have those gusting options instead of counter catcher, instead of cross switcher, because the idea behind the deck is that you just deal with whatever your opponent brings up and you take multi-prizes. So if they have a multi-prizer, use Chien-Pao and take the KO. If they have a single prizer, you use Iron Hands and take the KO. That's kind of the idea here. And I think that going forward, decks are going to get a little bit less aggressive. I mean, we have a lot of aggression right now in the format. We have Mew, Charizard's a very aggressive deck right now. Miraidon's an aggressive deck. But a lot of those decks, well, other than Charizard, I should say, Mew's rotating out. Miraidon loses its Flaffy, it loses its later game support, its mid to late game support card. So it can have a tougher time going all out in the beginning of the game, and then it might stumble a little bit in the mid game as it can't keep its energy on board. So Iron Bundle, I think, will have its time to shine. It's to searchable. You can search it with your Nest Ball, you can search it with your Ultra Ball, and it just acts as half an escape rope. So you send your opponent's Pokemon to the bench, they choose what to bring up. So Iron Bundle, I think, is very good in here. And then the last alternative card for our cross switchers is going to be Prime Catcher, brand new card from Temporal Forces, which just acts as a Guzma. If you don't know what Guzma does, it's you boss up something on the bench and then you switch your active to the bench. So I think Prime Catcher is going to be really, really good in Chien-Pao, because you, instead of needing Cross Switcher Cologne, which is 3 cards, and 2 of them need to be in the hand at the same time, so you need to have both Cross Switcher pieces, you can Prime Catcher Cologne, and Prime Catcher is 1 card. You can just search off of Irida. So if you get the other one in your hand, if you get the Cologne in your hand, you just Prime Catcher, bring up something on the bench, and then you're good to go. So I think Prime Catcher is going to be really good at helping this deck stay aggressive, because it's an aggressive deck that has a stage 2. It's kind of, I'll say, paradoxical in that way, where, you know, Charizard is an aggressive deck that needs 2 stage 2s, but one of its stage 2s gets whatever card it wants, so it kind of gets a little bit of pass there. Here we're using supporters, we're using Pokestops, we're using a lot of different things to kind of supplement that, so I think Prime Catcher is going to really help this deck in staying aggressive in the game. And now we're going to take a look at my sample post-rotation list. Again, this is just a sample example post-rotation list. It's not the best list in the world, but I'm going to go through right now, tell you my choices for cards. First off, we have 3 Frigibacks, 2 Baxcalibur. 3 Frigibacks, I've chosen to put only 60 HPs in here because starting with a 70 HP that has 2 retreat cost is really, really bad. Now, obviously, if Lost Zone decks are still really popular, even though they lose VIP and Escape Rope, then you might want to put a 70 HP back in here. But for now, starting with 360s is fine, then you adjust based on what the metagame looks like. 2 Baxcalibur is the standard, unfortunately. I love to have 3 Baxcalibur, just because I think it makes the deck more consistent, not necessarily to put up 3 Baxcalibur in a game, but it's just for the consistency's sake. Then you also have that 2 Bibero line, as, you know, all standard Chien-Pao lists do. And we have 2 Chien-Pao EX in here, which I'll get to in a little bit. We have the R-Rating Greninja because it is a staple of this deck and it's absolutely needed. And then we also have 1 copy of Iron Hands. Now, this list is kind of a way to play Chien-Pao that involves, you know, mixing the best of both worlds. You have the best of Canadian Chien-Pao and the best of, I'll call it, Hands Chien-Pao or Paradox Chien-Pao. You have a little bit of the best of both worlds here. Where you have that consistency that Canadian Chien-Pao has, but you also have the tech and strength of Iron Hands when you're able to pull it off when it's necessary for the situation. So we have Iron Hands in here, we have Manaphy, and then we've also included the Iron Bundle. I think the Iron Bundle is really, really good after rotation happens, specifically because you're able to just send something to the bench and adapt however you need to. And you also have, you know, Prime Catcher, and like Iron Bundle can send itself. You know, you send something to the bench and it puts itself in the discard pile, it opens up a new spot, then you can Prime Catcher something else up, for example, if you wanted to. You know, standard stuff. You have a lot of item play in this deck as usual. So the Iron Bundle, I think, is going to be really good. And its attack isn't bad either. Refrigerated Steam, Refrigerated Stream, it basically stops evolution Pokemon from attacking it, so you can use it into Charizard. And if they don't have a switch option or a boss readily available, they are going to be in a bit of a pickle. So that is pretty good. Iron Bundle is going to be good dealing with big evolution decks if Chien-Pao itself can't get to those numbers because it's straining too many resources. As for our support cards, for Irida, and I have 2 Iono in here. Now, I could also see the option of it being 1 Iono and 1 Roxanne. However, it's very important for me to stress that consistency is king. With Chien-Pao especially, you're going to need to be the most consistent deck at the table. You want to be super consistent at whatever tournament you're at. Best of 1, best of 3, whatever. And I actually really like 2 Iono in here, because now we have the space for it that we don't have to play cross switchers. And second is it gives you another chance to have a fresh start. Sometimes Irida's not enough, and that is really, unfortunate, right? But having extra Ionos in here means you can play them early to help reset your hand and kind of start again. You can also disrupt your opponent a lot easier because if you Pokestop one away, you still got 1 left in the tank. So that's why I really like having 2 Iono in here. As for our Pokemon search, 4 Buddy Poffin to replace those VIPs, and 4 Nest for Ultra, nothing special. We also have the 4 Superior Energy Retrieval, 3 Rare Candy, and now the only other different kind of thing in here is we have 3 Super Rod in the deck. That's why 2 Excalibur is okay, that's why 2 Chien-Paos is okay, is because having just 3 Super Rod to recycle our Pokemon and our energies when we need to is kind of makes a little bit more sense with this deck when you consider that Pokestop is milling you basically every single turn. You're getting rid of 3 cards, so the more item cards you have in here, the better. If you could play 5 or 6 Nest Ball, you probably would play 5 or 6 Nest Ball in here, so you can easily get your basics out, but Super Rod will throw them back into the deck, and then you can use Irida to easily grab them, or Iono to hopefully draw into them. Now we have the more techie stuff. We still have 1 Canceling Cologne in here. Only 1. You could make room for a second one. So you can still go for those cross switcher Cologne plays with Radiant Greninja and Prime Catcher. And then we also have 1 Earthen Vessel in here, which will enable you to get a Lightning Energy out of your deck through Irida, pretty much through Irida for Earthen Vessel, grab Lightning Energy attached to Iron Hands. We also have a Heavy Ball to get to get our Pokemon from the prizes. Then we have Prime Catcher, which just acts as our other gusting option. 4 Pokestop, 8 Water, 1 Lightning. That's basically the list. Now, another few things I want to go over here. Iron Bundle, I think, is really good because you can recycle it with the Super Rod. You throw it back in the deck, Irida for it, and boom, you send something to the bench that your opponent might not want to be there. They send up a single prizer, they get hands. They send up a multi-prizer, you Chien-Pao them. That's kind of the gamble that they run with that. And Iron Bundle can be recycled over and over and do it again, and again and again. So that is kind of the reason for Iron Bundle. However, you could replace it with Counter Catcher. That's the one glaring card I would have loved to have in here, but I think going forward, 2 Iono is really important. I think that the Iron Bundle is good. Don't know how great it is yet, though, so maybe you can change that for, something like the Counter Catcher. We do have Prime Catcher in here, that we can get off of the Pokestop, and we can get it off of Irida, and then we can Iono Prime Catcher something, which is really, really strong. Just as strong as Iono Counter Catcher, but you can use it in an aggressive manner. And Iono doesn't really affect you because you got Vibro, right? So I think that Chien-Pao is in a really good spot when rotation happens. Guardy gets a lot weaker, and with Screamtail, it's been really tough because they can just Counter Catcher, Screamtail, Counter Catcher, Bibarel, Screamtail, Excalibur, Iono you, and then you're kind of screwed because you have nothing on board, right? That is, a tragic thing to happen. And with Gardevoir getting a lot weaker, those plays can still happen, but probably not as consistently. So that is why I think Chien-Pao is going to be a little bit better when rotation comes around. And yeah, with all that said and done, thank you so much for watching my video. Like the video if you enjoyed, and comment down below, what do you think of Chien-Pao post-rotation? What do you like, what do you dislike, what you keep, what you change about my sample list here? Subscribe to the channel, posting multiple Pokemon trading card game videos every single week. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'm really trying to hustle and trying to get to 10K this year. So I got high hopes. And I'm grateful if you guys will join along with the journey with me. And now, as I said, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, Hitmonchan out.